Let's talk about the Israel-Palestine conflict. It's a story filled with complexity, history, and deeply held beliefs. You see it everywhere. On your phone, constantly popping up in your newsfeed, TV with breaking news alerts and in-depth reports, and social media. It dominates discussions and sparks heated debates online. It's not just a faraway feud. It's a conflict that resonates far beyond its borders. It's a generational struggle that's shaped millions of lives, impacting families and communities across the world, and drawn in the world's attention. It's a story that demands our understanding and consideration. This is about identity, land, the very essence of belonging, religion, and survival. It's about the right to exist and the struggle for self-determination. For Israelis, it's about a safe haven, a place of refuge after centuries of persecution. It's about building a future free from fear. For Palestinians, it's about holding on to their homeland, their ancestral roots, and dignity after displacement. It's about the yearning for a place to call home. These two stories are on a collision course, creating a complex and often volatile situation, and the world keeps watching. The international community is deeply invested in finding a resolution. Every new round of violence, every escalation of tensions, sparks global outrage, hashtags, and debates. It ignites passions and fuels strong opinions worldwide. But behind the headlines are real people, individuals with hopes, dreams, and fears, families on both sides just trying to live. They are striving for normalcy amidst the chaos. This isn't a simple good versus evil story. It's a nuanced and multifaceted reality. It's a tragedy where most just want peace, a lasting resolution, and a future beyond walls and rockets. A future where both sides can thrive. Why should you care? Why should this conflict matter to you? Because what happens here ripples across the globe. It has far-reaching consequences affecting law, international legal frameworks, diplomacy, international relations, and even fueling extremism. It can exacerbate existing tensions and create new ones. If we want to talk solutions, if we genuinely seek a path forward, we have to understand the real, messy human story. We need to look beyond the politics and see the people. So buckle up. We're about to embark on a journey. We're going back to the beginning to figure out how we got here. We'll explore the historical context and the key events that have shaped the conflict. Only by understanding the past, by examining the roots of the conflict, can we make sense of the present. Only then can we hope to build a better future. Let's dive in. Let's begin to unravel this complex story. To truly understand the complexities of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, we need to journey back in time. Let's rewind to the late 1800s, a period of immense change and upheaval across the globe. This era sets the stage for the events that would shape the destiny of the region for decades to come. Zionism rises in Europe, a political movement advocating for the establishment of a Jewish state. Jewish people, long persecuted throughout Europe and facing increasing discrimination and violence, dream of a homeland in their ancestral land, a place of refuge and self-determination, a return to Zion. This ancestral land, then called Palestine, was under the waning control of the Ottoman Empire. Meanwhile, Arabs living in Palestine for centuries developed their own distinct national identity and aspirations for self-governance and independence. All this unfolds as the Ottoman Empire weakens, its grip on power loosening. Two peoples, both with deep roots in the land, a shared history and dreams for the same land, a future they both envision as their own. Enter the British after World War I, seizing control, taking control of Palestine under a mandate from the League of Nations. Britain makes conflicting promises to both sides. The Balfour Declaration of 1917 supports the establishment of a Jewish homeland in Palestine, but they also hint at Arab independence, fueling hopes for self-determination. The result? Confusion, mistrust, and rising tensions between the Jewish and Arab populations. Jewish immigration increases significantly, especially after the horrors of the Holocaust, as displaced Jews desperately seek safety and a new beginning. Jewish communities build institutions, schools, and settlements, actively preparing for eventual statehood and self-governance. For Palestinian Arabs, this escalating immigration and land acquisition feels like their ancestral land is being taken without their consent, threatening their way of life. Protests and violence erupt from both sides, fueled by fear, resentment, and competing claims. Britain, increasingly overwhelmed by the escalating conflict, finds itself unable to keep the peace. The British mandate, intended to guide the region towards stability, becomes a powder keg of unresolved tensions. By the 1940s, the situation is explosive, teetering on the brink of all-out war. Britain's double-dealing and broken promises leaves both sides feeling angry, betrayed, and deeply distrustful of British intentions. The stage is set for a major conflict, a clash of national aspirations and competing claims. The world is about to change irrevocably for everyone living in Palestine, Jewish and Arab alike. And the consequences of these decisions, these broken promises, will echo through generations to come, shaping the future of the region. By 1947, after decades of grappling with the complexities of the region, Britain, weary and facing its own internal struggles, ultimately gives up its mandate. It hands the seemingly intractable problem to the newly formed United Nations, hoping for a resolution where they could not find one. The UN steps in, tasked with finding a solution that addresses the competing claims to the land. After careful deliberation and consideration of various proposals, the UN proposes splitting Palestine into two states. The plan calls for the creation of one Jewish state and alongside it one Arab state, each with defined territories. Recognizing its significance to both Jews and Arabs, the UN proposes a special status for Jerusalem, designating it as an international city under neither Jewish nor Arab sovereignty. After intense debate and internal discussions, Jewish leaders, recognizing the opportunity for self-determination, ultimately accept the UN partition plan. However, Arab leaders and neighboring countries vehemently reject the proposal, viewing it as deeply unfair and a violation of Palestinian rights. They see it as an unjust division of their ancestral homeland. Despite the rejection by Arab leaders, on May 14, 1948, David Ben-Gurion declares the independence of the State of Israel. For Jews around the world, it's a moment of long-awaited triumph, the culmination of Zionist dreams and a vital refuge, especially for survivors of the Holocaust seeking a safe haven. But for Palestinians, this day marks the beginning of the Nakba, catastrophe in Arabic. Almost immediately, war erupts, shattering the fragile peace. Armies from 5 Arab countries, Egypt, Jordan, Syria, Lebanon, and Iraq, invade the newly declared state. Against all odds, Israel survives the onslaught and, in the process, expands its territory beyond the boundaries outlined in the original UN partition plan. By 1949, when armistice agreements are signed, Israel controls approximately 78% of the land that was once Mandate Palestine. The remaining territories, the West Bank and the Gaza Strip, fall under the control of Jordan and Egypt respectively. The envisioned Palestinian state, as proposed by the United Nations, fails to materialize. The war results in a massive displacement of the Palestinian population. Over 700,000 Palestinians are forced to flee their homes, becoming refugees in neighboring countries and beyond. These refugees, displaced from their ancestral lands, find themselves in a state of statelessness, with many never allowed to return to their homes. Hundreds of Palestinian villages are destroyed or depopulated, and families are scattered, torn apart by the conflict and displacement. The Nakba becomes the central and defining trauma for Palestinians, profoundly shaping their national identity, their collective memory, and their ongoing struggle for self-determination and return. The map of the region is fundamentally redrawn, not through peaceful negotiation or mutual agreement, but by force of arms and military conquest. Makeshift refugee camps, initially intended as temporary shelters, spring up across the region, becoming permanent fixtures and symbols of the unresolved conflict. Within these camps and across the region, the seeds of future conflict are sown, nurtured by resentment, displacement, and the denial of Palestinian aspirations. With the establishment of Israel and the displacement of Palestinians, the world's attention turns to the next chapter in this complex and enduring saga. The pain and trauma of 1948, the Nakba, continue to resonate deeply within Palestinian society, its echoes felt across generations and still shaping the present. The Israeli-Palestinian conflict, born out of these events, is now a truly global issue, commanding international attention and shaping geopolitical dynamics. Fast forward to 1967, the region is on edge. Israel, fearing attack, launches a preemptive strike, starting the Six-Day War. In less than a week, Israel defeats Egypt, Jordan, and Syria, seizing the West Bank, Gaza, Sinai, and Golan Heights. Israel's territory triples, and Jerusalem's old city comes under Israeli control. But now Israel rules over 1 million Palestinians in the West Bank and Gaza. What began as a temporary occupation becomes permanent as peace talks stall. The Arab League's 3 no's, no peace, no recognition, no negotiations, freeze diplomacy. Israeli settlements begin popping up in the occupied territories, making a future Palestinian state harder to imagine. Most of the world calls these settlements illegal, but they keep expanding. The occupation becomes the new normal. The dream of two states starts to fade. The conflict enters a new, more complicated phase. Let's focus on Gaza, a tiny, crowded strip with over 2 million people. After 1967, Israel occupies Gaza, leading to decades of hardship and resistance. In the late 1980s, Hamas emerges, mixing social services with armed struggle against Israel. In 2005, Israel withdraws its settlers and soldiers from Gaza. But after Hamas wins elections and seizes control, Israel and Egypt impose a strict blockade. The blockade, meant to stop weapons, also cripples Gaza's economy and daily life. Critics call it collective punishment. Israel calls it security. Gaza faces shortages of electricity, water, and medicine. Unemployment soars, and hope fades. The blockade and periodic wars trap Gazans in a cycle of poverty and violence. Gaza becomes a symbol of the conflict's human cost. The Gaza blockade leads to repeated cycles of violence. Tensions flare, rockets are fired, Israel responds with airstrikes. Civilians on both sides suffer. In May 2021, clashes in Jerusalem and Gaza spark another deadly conflict. Hundreds die, infrastructure is destroyed, and ethnic tensions erupt within Israel itself. A fragile ceasefire follows, but nothing is resolved. Then, on October 7, 2023, Hamas launches a shocking attack into Israel, killing over 1,000 and taking hostages. It's the deadliest day for Jews since the Holocaust. Israel responds with a massive military campaign in Gaza. The violence and trauma reach new heights. The world watches in horror as the conflict escalates. The cycle is broken, but only to spiral into something even worse. The stakes have never been higher. Beyond politics and maps, this is a story of human suffering. For Palestinians, decades of occupation and violence mean daily hardship and lost hope. Farmers can't reach their land, students face checkpoints, and families live with constant fear. In Gaza, children grow up amid war and blockade, many traumatized before their teens. For Israelis, life is shaped by security fears, bomb shelters, military service, and the trauma of attacks. The October 2023 attack shatters any sense of safety. The occupation also weighs on Israeli society, fueling moral and political divisions. Both peoples carry deep wounds, physical, psychological, and societal. The conflict corrodes hope and trust on both sides. The cost isn't just in lives lost, but in futures stolen. Trauma is passed down through generations. The human toll is impossible to ignore. Why is peace so elusive? Trust is almost non-existent after decades of violence and broken promises. Final status issues, Jerusalem, refugees, borders, settlements, are political and emotional minefields. Palestinian leadership is divided. Israeli politics are increasingly hardline. Every new attack or raid hardens hearts and empowers extremists. Moderates are drowned out by calls for revenge. The cycle of violence feeds itself, making compromise harder. The past keeps sabotaging the future. Breaking the cycle requires courage and trust, both in short supply. After all this, it's easy to feel hopeless. But for those living the conflict, hope is a necessity, not a luxury. Understanding isn't about picking sides. It's about empathy. Both peoples have legitimate rights and deep wounds. True peace starts with seeing each other's humanity. There are still Israelis and Palestinians working together for peace, refusing to see the other as an enemy. The future of both peoples is tied together. They must find a way to share the land. For the rest of us, our job is to listen, seek nuance, and support voices of reason. Only with understanding can we help build a future free from fear. The path to peace is hard, but not impossible. Hope lives in small acts of courage and empathy. The story isn't over yet, and neither is the hope for a better future.